Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to Who'd Win and Why, and this time we got the Season 7 finale. That's right, after this video is finished, we will have had 7 complete seasons. That's pretty crazy if you ask me, but anyway, let's cap Season 7 off correctly. This time we got Marvel's Sentry going up against DC's Superman. Now, I know that I said I was going to try to film this video over vacation, but unfortunately there just was not a good time to do it, and anytime there was a good time, my family was in the room with me, and I thought it'd be awkward to tell them to shush for like half an hour with me talking just in front of a camera. It didn't really work out, so I thought I'd wait until I came back home. I'm home now, so I'm just gonna have to film it here. Sorry if you guys are disappointed, but it just worked out that way. This is probably the most planning I've ever done for a Who'd Win and Why thus far. Like, honestly, there was like this whole notes section where I'm writing down the order of how I'm gonna say everything, and I've been thinking about this episode for so long, so I'm assuming this is gonna be one of the longer episodes. You guys will probably already know if it is or if it isn't, because you're watching the video right now. And the other thing is that I might be stuttering a bit trying to remember the order that I'm trying to say things in. So yeah, just, you've been warned. But anyway, with that all said, let's get into the episode. So, who'd win and why? Let's find out. So first I'm going to talk about Sentry. Now probably a lot of you guys don't even know that much about Sentry. Some of you might, but some of you might have only just heard Sentry's name and you've heard him be referred to as Marvel's Superman, and you might have no idea why he's referred to as Marvel's Superman. Well, I'm here to tell you what Sentry is all about. So Sentry's been said to be one of Marvel's most powerful superheroes, and he's said to have the destructive force of 1 million exploding suns. And considering that one exploding sun already packs a punch of 10 octillion megatons of force, 1 million exploding suns is a lot of force. So anyway, when it comes to Sentry's strength, not only can Sentry lift an enormous amount of weight, but he's also been shown ripping Carnage in half, ripping Ares, the god of war, in half, breaking most, if not all, of the bones in Hulk's body, and standing up to Worldbreaker Hulk, which is one of the most powerful versions of Hulk we've seen to this day, like to date. And not only does this show his great strength, being able to actually hurt this version of the Hulk, but also it showcases his durability as well, as he's able to take punches from this guy. Because remember, this guy is ridiculously strong, Worldbreaker Hulk. He was able to sink like the entire eastern seaboard with a single footstep. So with like a faster than the speed of sound punch with that kind of power going up against Sentry, you know, being able to take that kind of punch is ridiculous. So that showcases his strength and his durability. When it comes to his speed, Sentry is ridiculously fast both on the ground and in the air. He's been shown actually flying an undefined number of light years in like, and he was able to do that in like a few moments, meaning that makes him like massively faster than light in terms of speed. And if that's not fast enough for him or impressive enough for you, he can also just teleport wherever he wants to go. That's actually one of his abilities. So yeah, there you go. And when it comes to his durability, I already mentioned him facing off against Worldbreaker Hulk, and he's been said to be pretty much invulnerable at this point, but that's not even where his durability stops. He has great molecular control over his own body, which means that he can make himself even more durable, make himself heal if he needs to, and just come back from and survive things that no character realistically should be able to. Plus, it's also worth noting that his body does not produce fatigue toxins, meaning he essentially has unlimited stamina. He can keep fighting for as long as he wants to. So now that I've gone over his strength, speed, and durability, I do think it's important to mention one important thing about Sentry, which is that his power is completely dependent on his mental stability. If he's in a battle and because if you know anything about Sentry, you know that he's not the most mentally stable guy. So if he's less mentally stable, or if his mental stability is weaker during a certain fight, then he will not, like, he won't have as great control over his powers. And that doesn't mean that he'll, like, lose control and become more dangerous. It just means he won't be able to use his abilities, like his special abilities, to the best of his ability. So yeah, he just won't be able to do that. However, if his mental stability is stronger during a fight, then he's able to use his abilities, especially his molecular control, to a huge degree, like an enormous degree of power. So basically, his battles are determined on whether or not he's having a good day, literally. So yeah, if he's having a better day, he'll be more powerful, and if he's less mentally stable, or you know, if he's like as least mentally stable as he's ever been, then he won't be as powerful. But he's still very powerful nonetheless, no matter how you look at it. And it's also been stated that he does sometimes draw energy from the sun to become more powerful. Yes, I'm not joking. He can do exactly what Superman can do. However, it is worth noting he doesn't do it as much as Superman, but I still thought I'd bring it up because I just find it so hilarious. Anyway, now that I've gone over all of that, let me talk a bit more about his molecular control, because that's actually a very interesting power and a much more versatile power than you might think. Not only does he have molecular control over his own body, but he can also control other things and other people. Like once, he actually grabbed Absorbing Man by the neck and completely dispersed him and destroyed him atom by atom, completely disintegrating him. Just being able to do that, having such good molecular control that you're able to do that just to a regular person, or not even a regular person, Absorbing Man, just that you're able to do that is absolutely ridiculous. Like, that's godly if I've ever seen it, just being able to do that to any person you want to. And also, his molecular control is so good that it's actually been stated that with enough practice, he should be able to create any ability that he wants to. Like, any ability, he can just create it inside his own body, and he can do just whatever he wants. Now, obviously, Sentry would not be able to do this, like, just whenever he wants to, because he hasn't had enough practice with it. But, however, he has shown that if the want is there to do something, he will do it. And a good example of this, a perfect example of this, is when he actually brought his wife back from the dead and was genuinely surprised that he did so. And he just created that. He never knew he could do resurrection, but he just did it. Which means that with enough practice and with enough want, he should be able to just do whatever he wants to. So if the want is there, who knows? He might gain a new power just for a split second. And that does mean that at his maximum potential, which obviously we're not looking at, but this is just, I just feel it's cool to say, at his maximum potential, he's essentially pre-Crisis Superman. You know that Silver Age Superman that just could create any ability he wants to on the fly just because he wants to? Yeah, he could essentially do that at his maximum potential. Obviously, he wouldn't be able to do that in a fight like this because he hasn't enough practice. I just thought it'd be cool to say. But now that I've said all of that, and yes, we are still talking about Sentry, let me rattle off some of his other abilities, because he has a lot of them. So let me just see how many I can remember. So I've already mentioned Resurrection, at least for that one time he was able to do Resurrection, and he can fly, he can teleport, he has molecular control. That's already 4 special abilities. But now let me talk about his other ones, or at least briefly go over them. He can become intangible. He can become invisible. He can share his powers. He can shapeshift. He has energy manipulation, energy absorption, energy projection. He has enhanced senses. He also has weather manipulation, and even some sort of mental abilities I think he has as well. And that is crazy. That's already 14 different abilities that I listed, and I probably forgot a few of them. And in case any of you are wondering, yes, some of his abilities do stem directly from his molecular control, just like being able to turn invisible and intangible. So yeah, he is a very versatile character, and his molecular control gives him a lot more abilities, and he can give him more abilities if he needs them, or if the want, like I said, if the want is there, he can just get a new ability, and that's pretty OP if you ask me. It wouldn't happen every time. In fact, that's probably dependent on how mentally stable he is during that fight, but again, I just thought it'd be something cool to share with you guys. When it comes to his intellect, not only can he speed read and speed learn and just learn a ton of things very fast, much like a certain Superman that I know, but he can also, the guy, Robert Reynolds, who is the Sentry, is also very skilled in different fields and sciences. And when it comes to his experience, obviously I did talk a lot about what he's already done, but he's also just fought with a ton of Marvel's heaviest hitters, including Galactus. He fought Galactus in a regular fight, which is just beyond impressive. He's also been shown to be able to beat Molecule Man at his own game, and he's the guy that has all control over all matter. Literally, in one issue, he was able to break Captain America's shield, Thor's hammer, and Silver Surfer's surfboard. He was able to break all 3 of those things down, including Iron Man's armor, but that's not as impressive. He was able to break all of those down just by thinking about it. And Sentry is shown to outmatch him in that category, and that's crazy. I guess the main weaknesses of Sentry is that he just has a very fragile psyche. Even though it has been stated that he doesn't have any physical weaknesses, because, you know, he doesn't tire and he has insane strength, speed, and durability. He has a very fragile psyche and is very susceptible to psychic attacks. And like I said, it's also worth noting that his power is directly related to how mentally stable he is during the fight. But no matter how mentally stable this guy is, he is still ridiculously powerful. He is definitely not someone you want to fight in a one-on-one battle to the death, and it is very clear why many people refer to him as Marvel's Superman. Okay, so now I'm finished with Sentry. Let's move on to Superman. Now, before actually I move on to Superman, there is one thing I want to clear up. Some of you may be wondering why I didn't mention anything about the Void. Well, there's 3 reasons why I didn't bring up the Void. One reason is just because I don't know a lot about him, and I don't want to misinform anything or just get something completely wrong. The second reason is because I'm not even certain that the Void would emerge every single time these 2 characters fought. And the third reason is that it's actually not going to change the outcome of the battle. Even if there was like this, like an even more powerful Void or anything anything like that, it's not going to change the outcome of the battle. If you guys don't know the Void and you have no idea what I'm talking about, then just ignore everything I said. But if you do know the Void and if you're wondering why I didn't bring him up, those are pretty much the 3 reasons why. But anyway, now let's move on to Superman. I'm sure a ton of you guys already know a lot about Superman, and this video is already going to be long enough, so I'm going to try to be brief with Superman. So when it comes to his strength, he's been shown moving the Earth out of orbit, and that's ridiculous. That means that his strength level would be put at around, like, over 6 quintillion tons. That's how much he could move, and that is ridiculous. And because his solar power can keep rising, you know, it's nowhere near his maximum strength. And before I move on with the other stuff, that's actually something very important to point out. His power is completely dependent on how much solar energy he has stored up inside him. The more solar energy he has, the more powerful he is, and the closer he is to a star, or at least a yellow or blue star, not a red star, the more power he could get quicker. And yeah, he even spent some time inside the sun, and he got ridiculously powerful very quickly. So yeah, there's that for you. Now, this does not mean that he has infinite power. Can his power keep rising to an undefined limit? Yes, it can. He can keep waiting and the power can keep rising. However, he will always have a finite amount of power. It will never be infinite because he charges up like a battery. However, this does mean that at certain times, he can be way more powerful. Like, if he just spends like a ton of time inside the sun, you know, he'll be more powerful, much more powerful than he would be as just a regular, like how Superman's general strength level is, if that makes any sense to you guys. But anyway, so now that I've talked about that, let's move on to his speed. Now, Superman, he was shown, you know, flying millions of times faster than light. In fact, he's gone trillions of times faster than light as well, being able to travel many different galaxies and light years in a very short amount of time. Like, remember, he once traveled like 25 light years in just a matter of minutes, which again, like, puts him at over 1,000,000 times the speed of light. But he can go much faster than that, obviously. And when it comes to his durability, this guy was able to tank an explosion, which is equivalent to like 50 different supernovas. And as I said, one supernova is already in the octillions of like megatons of force, which is ridiculous. Being able to tank any number of those is just mind-blowing. So yeah, that's Superman. You know, his strength, his speed, and his durability is ridiculously high up there, I guess I should say. And when it comes to his other abilities, I'm sure a lot of you guys already know. In fact, you know, there might even be some ones that I'm just missing off the top of my head that are completely obvious, but I'm sure you guys know a lot of them already. You know, he has heat vision, which can reach temperatures greater than the surface of the sun. There's also X-ray vision, which can see through anything except lead. He can also has his freeze breath, which can reach sub-zero temperatures, and he can also fly, you know, fly great distances. He can move very fast in the air and on the ground. What else can Superman do? Now I'm just drawing a complete blank. I know he mastered 2 different Kryptonian martial arts. One of them is more physical and one of them is more mental. I won't get too in detail with that. And I know he also has psychic blocks, which allow him to, you know, fend off like different psychic attacks. You know, it allows him to protect his mind, which is pretty cool. I know he can also jump very far. I know that he can speed read, you know, speed learn. He has a genius level of intellect because of that, essentially. And again, I already feel like I'm missing something completely obvious. I know that he is invulnerable, you know, his durability, you know, nothing on Earth can harm him. And like I said, freeze breath, X-ray vision. I seriously feel like I'm missing something. Maybe I'm not, but I seriously feel like I am. But anyway, so yeah, that's mainly what Superman is known for. You know, the X-ray vision, heat vision, freeze breath, super jumping, everything else that I mentioned already. So yeah, that's mainly what Superman is known for. When it comes to his experience, he's fought the entire Justice League before and won. He's also fought some of DC's heaviest hitters, such as Darkseid and Doomsday. He did lose to Doomsday the first time, but you know, he has fought them and he has stood a very good chance against them. You know, it has kind of been confirmed, I guess, that Darkseid and Doomsday are technically stronger and more powerful than Superman, but he's still able to take them on and give them a pretty good run for their money. So yeah, that's power if I ever saw it. I guess the main weaknesses about Superman, well, obviously we know his signature weaknesses. You know, kryptonite, you know, this can bring him to his knees very, very fast, especially if it's a huge amount of kryptonite. Also, you know, he has no special resistance to magical attacks. While nothing on Earth can hurt him, magic can definitely hurt him. And then he also has other weaknesses, such as he can die and his sun power can be depleted if he, you know, is staying out of sunlight for too long, or if someone keeps, you know, hitting him too hard, and, he stays out of sunlight. What else? He also, I know that, again, his power is very dependent on how much solar energy he has. There might be some times where he's very powerful, but some other times where he's not so powerful. And he can also, also the main thing is that he doesn't really work on training himself, and he doesn't really, he spends too much time trying to, save other people rather than, improving his own skill. Obviously, he is going to be bloodlusted in this fight, as all Who'd Win and Why episodes are, but yeah, I just thought I should mention that. But yeah, overall, Superman is an extremely powerful powerhouse. He's been said to be one of the most powerful characters in all of fiction before, by many different people. He's been said to be that. He's definitely one of the most powerful heroes in DC, if not the most powerful. Alright, so now that I've talked about these two characters, now it's time for me to decide a winner. Well, I've already decided one, but now it's time for me to explain my winner and everything like that. But some of you may be wondering why I decided to do this fight. Well, I guess some of you guys know I don't like using Superman. Well, for two reasons. One of them is because there were a lot of people that wanted to see this fight. This is probably the most requested fight ever on Who'd Win and Why. Seriously. There was even one guy in my school that came up to me and said, hey, why don't you do Sentry versus Superman? So I'm like, okay, I guess a lot of people really want to see it. So I thought, why not? Let's try something new. And when it comes to the second reason, I think the best way to explain the second reason is to first explain why I don't like using Superman. Superman's power is way too inconsistent, and it's really hard to decide who would win in a fight, Superman versus anyone who's around his power level. It's really hard to decide who would win in a fight between those two characters most of the time, because there are some days where Superman is ridiculously strong because he has so much solar energy stored up inside of him, and then there are some days where he just doesn't have as much solar energy stored up inside him, and he's not as powerful. So there may be times where he's more powerful than his opponent, but times where he's less powerful than his opponent. And honestly, the same can be said for Sentry as well, because Sentry, his power is dependent on his mental stability, much like how Superman's power is very dependent on the solar energy that he has stored up inside of him. However, I don't have to worry about that this time, because I know there is one character that would always beat the other character. Because of Sentry's molecular control, and because he's so good at controlling the molecules in his body, he has complete control over his own death. Yeah, I didn't want to mention that in the main, his own info, because I thought that would give the winner away, and I really didn't want to do that this time. But yeah, Sentry has control over his own death. There have been at least 2 different times in comics, one against Molecule Man, and one, I believe, against Morgan Le Fay, where he actually was able to come back, completely unharmed after being completely, molecularly dispersed or disintegrated, and it's been stated, that he can really only die if he wants to die. There have actually been, I think, at least once in comics where he actually asked Thor to kill him, and he allowed him to kill him. I don't exactly know all the details about that, but the point is, Sentry can't die unless he wants to. He has complete control over his own death, which means it doesn't matter how strong or how weak Sentry is with his mental stability. It doesn't matter how strong or how weak Superman is with his, solar energy stored up inside of him. It doesn't matter, because no matter what happens, Superman will not be able to kill Sentry. And Superman can still die. It's very hard to kill Superman because he can still keep getting, solar energy, but if he's been depleted of too much energy and he can't get towards the sun quick enough, he will still die. It's not impossible to kill him. Yes, technically he has been stated to be invulnerable, but most people just relate that to, somewhat strong villains or just Earth weapons. Technically he can still be hurt, and I guess he does still just have, regular, those weaknesses like kryptonite and magic, but again, if enough enough power is beaten into him, I'm not even sure if that sentence made sense, but you guys know what I mean. If he's beaten down hard enough and he can't get any more sunlight, he will die. It is still very possible for Superman to die. Whereas on the flip side, someone who has complete control over his own molecules, Sentry can't die unless he wants someone to kill him. Now, I already know what some of you guys might be thinking. Now, yes, Sentry can't die, but no matter how powerful Sentry is, or no matter how weak Superman is, does Sentry actually stand a chance against Superman, and would he actually be able to kill him at all? And if you guys are thinking that, then I honestly understand why, because there are certain characters like Spider-Man and Iron Man and other characters like that, where it doesn't matter how weak Superman is, he'd still kill them. He's still ridiculously strong, even at his worst. So there are definitely characters like that who would always lose to Superman. However, when it comes to Sentry, I personally don't believe he is one of those characters. The main reason is just because we've seen him do ridiculous things. Obviously, you know, I already mentioned everything else that he's done, all the other feats like fighting Galactus and World Breaker Hulk and ripping Ares in half. I've already mentioned all of that. But there's one thing in comics that really surprised me and it really showed me how powerful Sentry can be. The Absorbing Man. He once tried to absorb all of Sentry's power. He once tried to absorb all of Sentry's power. He only got a fraction of it, though. But even that fraction, Absorbing Man stated that that was more power than he had ever felt before. This is the same guy that has absorbed Hulk's power, Thor's power, and even Odin's magic. So theoretically, well, not even just theoretically, this means that only a fraction of Sentry's power, like a tiny fraction, is more powerful than Odin. Like, what? That's ridiculous. That's so powerful. Like, just being able, like, at your best, you know, when you're as mentally stable as you can be, just a fraction of your power is more powerful than the All-Father of Asgard. We know how powerful Odin is. And just being more powerful than that with a fraction of that power, of your power, that's crazy. That just really put into perspective how powerful Sentry can be. And also, just when he is at best when it comes to his mental stability, he's pretty much been depicted as someone who can just do whatever he wants, you know, almost like as a godly status. Like when he held Absorbing Man up by the neck and completely dispersed his atoms, you know? I just feel that, you know, just being able to do that, you know, when you're mentally best, I do personally believe that Sentry would be able to kill Superman if he was strong enough and if Superman was weak enough. And plus, you know, Sentry does have molecular control over basically everything. So does that mean that he would be able to molecularly disperse Superman, much like he did the Absorbing Man? Like, I know Superman has been stated to be invulnerable, but I'm not sure if that means that you're completely resistant to someone who has molecular control over basically everything. Or maybe he does, I don't know. I mean, he survived Darkseid's molecular dispersing Omega beams, so, you know, who knows. But my point is, I do personally believe that Sentry is powerful enough to take down Superman under the right conditions. So, and you know, some of you might not even really care about Sentry being immortal or not. Some of you might have just clicked on this video and you want to know who's more powerful between the two. You know, who would win in a fight. You know, it doesn't have to be to the death. You just want to know who's more powerful between Sentry and Superman. And as I said, that question is very hard to answer because that really just depends on how much solar energy Superman has and how mentally stable Sentry is. However, I can say these two things for certain. One of them is that, you know, Sentry, he seems to be the more versatile character and the one that has the more godly abilities, like being able to molecularly disperse anyone he wants, or be able to just be immortal because of his molecular control. And the second thing is that it looks like Superman is generally, I say generally because the power can change, Superman just seems to be better when it comes to the physical stats, like strength and speed, and when you completely remove Sentry's molecular control from the equation, Superman has seemed to just overall tank more, like 50 supernovas. Actually, speaking of the supernovas, if you want to take this literally, as I said, Superman survived an explosion which is equaling up to 50 supernovas, which would be, I believe, 500 octillion megatons of force. That's impressive, but if you want to take Sentry's his statement literally of having the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, you're reaching about 10 dectillion megatons of force. And because apparently surviving 50 supernovas all at once is one of Superman's best feats of durability, I personally don't believe that Sentry would be able, I personally don't believe Superman would be able to survive 10 dectillion megatons of force. But again, that's only if you're taking it literally. But yeah, overall, I really don't feel like I need to say any more. Both of these two characters are ridiculously powerful. Overall, both of them are ridiculously powerful. But really, there's really no way for Superman to be able to kill Sentry in a one-on-one battle to the death, which is what Who, When, and Why is. You know, I have to give the winner to the person that can't die, and that is Sentry. The only way that Superman would be able to kill Sentry is by essentially torturing him long enough to make Sentry want to die. And that's next to impossible considering that this is all, you know, a one-on-one confrontation, and Superman would not know to do that. You know, he just wouldn't know that that's the case, you know. He just wouldn't be able to do that. That's next to impossible. So overall, both of these two characters are ridiculously powerful, insane levels of strength, speed, durability, versatility, and both of their powers can change depending on different things. Sentry with mental stability, and Superman with solar energy. But, you know, when one of them's immortal and the other one's not, you know, there's really only one way that this can go. What happens when you pit a man who's very hard to kill against another man who can't be killed in the first place? well, only one has death to fear and suffer. So, in my opinion, the winner is the Sentry. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know this was another episode where it's like, immortal versus not immortal, and that can be kind of boring, but I personally did enjoy this episode. This is one of the only times where I think, it's actually fair to judge, a Superman fight, because again, Superman's power can really change drastically depending on how much solar energy he has, but this time I didn't have to worry about that, because this is a battle to the death, and that's always how it works. And I'm sorry if you guys wanted to see the Void. I'm sorry about that. I just don't know a lot about him, and like I said, it wouldn't have changed, because whether he was using the Void or not, Sentry is still immortal. So yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please give this video a huge thumbs up. I always appreciate the likes. Comment down what you thought of it. Comment down who you think would win. If you think there is some other way that Superman would be able to kill Sentry, or if you think Superman is just overall more powerful than Sentry, anything you want to comment about these two characters, comment it down in the comments below. I always love to hear what you guys have to say about these characters, and any characters, and any fights that I do. And if you could subscribe to my channel, guys, that'd be so great. That would really help my channel out. We just finished Season 7. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. I am going to talk a bit about Season 8, just for a split, just for a tiny bit, but there is one thing I want to do quickly. I want to give two very quick shout-outs. The first shout-out I want to give is to The Nerd Show. The Nerd Show gave me a shout-out, and that was very nice. He gave a shout-out to me on his channel. He's doing, like, exactly what I'm doing, just talking about different versus debates, giving his own opinion on stuff. He says that I inspired him to make these videos, which feels really good. It feels really cool, I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, this guy really deserves more subscribers, so please, link in the description to his channel, go check him out, subscribe, do all that good stuff, watch his videos. He really deserves more subscribers. I also want to give a quick shout out to The Legends. It's spelled capital T, capital H, capital E, space Legends with a capital L. I'll also put a link in the description to his channel, so make sure you guys go check him out as well. Both of those links in the description. Please check these guys out. But now that I've gotten all that out of the way, let me talk a bit about Season 8. So I'm not going to be taking as big a break this time because I'm still on summer, and I want to make sure that I get as much content out over the summer while I have the time to do it. I want to make sure I get as much content out as possible, as much as I can. So I'm not sure when the scheduled video is going to come out. Hopefully it'll come out, sooner rather than later. I'm not really going to say, oh, it's going to come out on this day. Just keep your eyes peeled for it, because it might come out sooner or later than you think. Who knows? And also, if your idea didn't get into this season, I'm sorry. It was really hard, guys. This is going to be a great season. Season 8 is going to be so great, honestly. Season 8 will be great. It honestly will, though, because there are a lot of great fights that I'm really looking forward to doing, and I hope you guys will be looking forward to them as well. So yeah, if your idea didn't make it in, it was very hard to decide the fights that were going to come in, but the ones that I did decide, I really hope I chose the right ones. And even if your idea didn't get in, I really hope that you're not going to, like, leave the channel for that, because, the point of this channel is really not to, the point of this channel is really not to see if your idea got in. It's to discuss and, to share your opinions about the different fights. So I almost see that, like, the battles, being able to choose your own battle, I see that as more of an added bonus than anything else. I don't think it should be the deciding factor whether or not you like this channel. I don't think you should be leaving because of it, because that's not the point of the show. The point of the show is not so you can have your idea be on the show. Like, that's an added bonus, obviously, but it's more so to, discuss the fights. And if your idea gets in, that's great. That means you had a great idea. But if it didn't, I really hope you'll still watch the videos, because, that's not really the point of the show, to have your idea be on the show. And plus, as the show keeps going, there's going to be more viewers, and it's going to be even harder to decide, because there's going to be so many more, ideas. So yeah, no matter what, it's going to be really hard to choose fights from now on. It really will. But I really hope that I chose good fights out of the ones that I was given. I'm really excited for Season 8. I really hope you guys are as well. Thank you guys so much for watching all 7 seasons, or even if you haven't watched all 7 seasons, thank you for watching as much as you have, because it really means so much to me. All the subscriptions, all the likes, all the views, you guys are the reason why I keep doing YouTube, and I'm really excited. We're getting close to 400 subscribers, guys. That's mind-blowing for me. So thank you guys so much. It really means so much to me, and I hope you guys will stick around and keep watching the Who'd Win and Why's, because I love doing them. You guys are the reason why I keep doing them. I really hope you like Sentry versus Superman. I really hope that my planning for this paid off, because I had a certain order that I was going to say things in, and maybe you guys picked up on that. I'm not really sure. But anyway, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a heck of a ride, and I'm really excited to keep going with this ride. I hope you guys are as well. Really hope you enjoyed this episode. Really hope you enjoyed the other episodes. I should probably stop talking now. Sorry, it's just I appreciate you guys so much. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see all of you guys in the next video. See you later, and have a good night.